There's generally two places you're going to have the root bone animate in relation to the pelvis on your characters inside of Unreal. You're probably going to have the root motion removed, where the root basically stays at origin in relation to where the animation is moving, or you are going to have the root motion moving closer to the pelvis, projected straight to the ground. Depending on which one you use, when you try to blend two animation sequence clips together, you can get different results. This has to do when you try to right-click one of the sequences and then you try to match the bone from one clip to another clip. In this top example here, you can see that there's a strut animation going for cover animation, and when these two are blended together, you can see that the root has to travel during the time that the blending is transferring over. That results in this top animation having a bit of a wiggle in the blend, where you probably don't want that to happen. You could clean it manually, but it's going to be more work than if you just get it right the first time. The second result you can get is if you have the root moving along with the character, you'll have a more predictable blend when you try to overlap the two animation sequences. In this second example here, you can see that I'm using the cover animation with the same root motion removed, and I'm using this sneak animation with the root motion removed. For the end blending result, you can see here that when the overlap happens, the root bone will slowly shift over, even though you've matched the bone from one clip to the other on either the pelvis or the feet. Using the same animations with the root motion moving along with the character, you can get a much more predictable blend when you blend these two animation clips together. There's also a strange glitch that I've seen that when I'm retargeting animations from Mixamo onto MetaHuman type character or Manny here, you'll get this animation where if you use two of these clips together in a row and you try to blend them, the resulting animation ends up pretty weird. Even though you're matching pelvis or one of the feet, you'll get this weird freezing motion that you have at the start of one clip and the start of the next clip. One thing that you can do if you try to double up this animation up here and link them together end to end is you could just rebake the root bone back to the ground and then save out that animation clip. And blending this corrected clip will result in the same expected animation that you saw on the first two slides. The tool that I'm showing how to use to correct these animation clips is the qoobit sequence baker. Inside of the sequence baker widget, we added some control rig utility assets that will help. The two CRUs that I'm going to be using from the plugin is the CRU root motion remove or the CRU root motion transfer. If you have a final animation and you remove the root motion from it so that the root bone is sticking to world origin, it is easier to bring those animations into Maya or Houdini for effects, or just to export out of Unreal in general. Using the CRU root motion transfer, this one is easier for blending animation clips directly inside of Engine, or to bake out animations that you could use for root motion when you're doing locomotion for a character in-game. Some things you're expected to know as prerequisites to follow along with this tutorial is how to use sequencer and use layered control rigs. Clips used inside of this tutorial are mixamo animations retargeted to the mannequin. So for this example, I've already added the qoobit plugin, and if you go down to the qoobit tab, check animation, you can find sequence baker there, and then once you have the widget open, you just have your skeletal mesh added to your scene, and then you add the animation clips that you want to blend. An easier way to see the issues that are with the skeleton with your skeletal mesh, you can click on this eye flag here, type in bone, and then click on this button here, which will turn on the display flag bones. I turned this into a hotkey with Alt-B underneath my editor preferences. So these two animation clips that you see here are mixamo animations that are just retargeted directly to the mannequin. You can see here that it looks like the root motion is correct, but when I blend them, it's going to have some sort of glitch. So if I do that quickly here by going to matching these two clips together, right clicking on one of them, match this bone with the previous clip to pelvis. Even if I blend these two together, something will go wrong. You can see the first half looks totally fine, but when I get to the back half, this occurs. That's not exactly what I want, so I have to process these two animation clips in a way that they will blend properly. So now let's take a look at the two CRUs I mentioned earlier on how they can fix this. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take these apart, right click on one of them, and remove the matching. Now it's back to how it was originally. I'm going to click on this skeletal mesh on the side, and I'm just going to quickly demonstrate how the CRU root motion remove works. And I'm going to click this add control rig. And now that the widget detects that the root motion remove has been added to the sequencer, as long as this one is selected, you can see here that I have the options to turn on and off the settings. These are the same settings that would show up if I were to click on the control rig and click on the controller for root. You'll see that I can control the IK transfer on this setup. Having it on will reproject the IK bones that come with Manny onto their correct spots. We don't actually need to use this one to fix the mixamo animation, so I'm going to delete it. I'm going to make sure that the skeletal mesh is selected again. Click on the root motion transfer CRU, and then add that. There are settings here that are also available if I click on the CRU root motion transfer control rig and I clicked on the root here. The only thing that we need to use is this align button, and we can just leave on the IK transfer so that the IKs are solved on this thing. But if I were to scrub now, you can see that the root is projected straight to the floor. If I turn on and off the control rig, you can see the difference between the new projection and the one that was retargeted from Mixamo. So now that the control rig is added, I'm going to just export these animation clips and blend them back again. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to set the in and out point, and then I'm going to switch over to the animation sequence mode. Now I'm going to click on the animation itself, search for it, and then pop it into this section up here. This will allow me to feed the values that are from this into the settings below. It's going to find the folder that this is saved into and make sure that when I bake this animation, it's going to pop it into this folder. If I press this P button, it's going to take the name from this animation sequence and pop it into here. I'm going to rename it to fix. Another thing that I can do is I can use a sequential name to number it, but I'm just going to do this so that it's easier for me to read. You can pause the video here to copy my settings. And then for exporting, I'm just going to go back to the sequencer here, click on the skeletal mesh, hit the playback button so that the play range has reset to the range that the animation clip has. And then if I hit bake, it'll disable everything and then put the fixed version of the animation clip above. So now I need to do the same thing for the sneak walk. I'm just gonna disable the fixed animation layer, turn on the original layer of the animation with the Mixamo raw retargeted clips, and turn on the CRU root motion transfer again. I'm gonna reposition my in and out again. For the sneak walk, and then I'm gonna click on the sneak walk here, press the search button. I'm going to use this arrow to pop it into this section here. Press the P button for it to take the name, and then I'm going to rename it. I'm going to go back to the sequencer here and click on the skeletal mesh. And then if I hit the playback button, it's going to fix the range. And then if I hit bake, it's going to bake out the new animation clip that's fixed. So now I'm going to fix the in and out for this clip. And these animations won't blend because they're on different tracks. So I'm going to take this one here, press Ctrl X to cut it. I'm going to click on the top track, and then I'm going to press paste. Now that I have these two animation clips on the same layer, I'm basically just going to blend these two together and then match the pelvis. I'm going to place the playhead in between them, right click this one, match the pelvis here, and you can see that the blending is actually working this time in comparison to the Mixamo one. If I wanted to tweak the animations a little bit in the direction where this guy is going, I can press my hotkey Alt-B to remove the bones from the show bones up here, and then if I right click on this track, show selection, you can see here that I have the skeleton here. If I were to click on the root bone over here in this section tab, I can actually just adjust the rotations. You'll see that the character goes in that direction. So originally when I baked out these two animation clips, I used axis aligned. And what happens when I do that is that the root is always aligned strictly to origin. And it seems that if you blend two clips that are blending at over 180 degrees, Sequencer has issues trying to figure out how to blend the two clips together. So when I turn off the axis align and then bake out these two animation clips, it takes the Y direction on the root and it makes it face the direction that the character is looking towards when he's moving. So in this clip here, the Y would be facing over to the right. And on this clip, the Y will be facing toward the right at the start. And then as he turns, the Y will be facing over to the left. So that when the two clips blend together, it won't do this weird spin. So these two clips here renamed to fixed 2. You can see that there's a blend and that looks like it's working here. But if I were to make sure that I have show skeleton on this sneak walk fixed and I click on this root bone here, I could rotate this character all the way around to even the troublesome angle that was happening in the first clip, and this will blend properly. And then at this point, you could just bake out the animation and then pop on a control rig and clean up.